Good morning, everyone, and welcome into another edition of WST Sunday Live. My name is Hrabchak. In a moment, going to be joined by my co-host Lyss Houde. And I'm not gonna lie, folks. This hurts. This sucks. It's a good thing that we have a very good hockey team to talk about, and we'll spend a lot of time today talking about that very good hockey team. But man, 2 outs away, extra innings, Game 7, 2 outs away from winning the World Series. And the Jays come literally as close as you can to winning the World Series and don't. That one stings. I guess you kind of feel for, Seattle Mariners fans now and how that ALCS ended last week. We'll definitely talk about the Jays right off the top and not really, analyze what happened in the game. We'll more just talk about how depressed we are. But then again, like I said, we have a very good hockey team to talk about. The Jets are second place in the NHL. They beat the Penguins 5-2. That's going to dominate the show. We'll get into that. We got our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll coming up, trending up down, burning questions, all of our segments. Thank you everyone for joining us today on WST Sunday Live. Hope you got a good extra hour of sleep last night with the daylight savings. I sure needed it after the way that game ended. Let's bring in my co-host back at the hat wall, Lyss Houde. Lyss, how are you doing this morning?
Marginally better than you because
Okay.
I probably wasn't I was like a 97% invested. So I think I'm probably doing like 3% better than you, but yeah, that sucks. But the thing about doing our own show is that we make the rules. So we often just talk about the team that we have to talk about. And then when the Bombers are doing really well, we'll talk about the Bombers.
Exactly.
And when the Jays are doing really well, we'll talk about the Jays. But yesterday sucked for those reasons. So yeah, it sucks. That was tough. That was tough.
Yesterday sucked for a lot of reasons. The Jets weren't one of them. The Bombers were, and the Jays were. It was a very, very tough day. The Bombers losing in the East semifinal 42-33 to Montreal. And then the Jays, of course. I was texting my mom last night as well, saying I've had a lot of experience of late in the last 5 to 6 years with my teams losing the big game with the Niners in 2 Super Bowls, the Bombers 3 straight Grey Cups, and now the Blue Jays, Game 7 of the World Series. I don't know about you and who you were watching the game with last night, Lyss, but I was watching the game with a group of probably 15 to 20, and when they turned the double play, I don't think anyone said a word for about 10 to 15 minutes. It was just silence.
I can't remember what play it was. There was a play. It wasn't that one. It was it was probably the homer. It was probably the
tying homer. That was
homer. The
yeah.
tying or the
the
go ahead one. Because I knew what the batting order was coming up, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it. And I was at a restaurant, and I knocked my head against the wall so hard, and I just laid in my seat a freaking, I don't even know, a corpse for about 5 minutes until the next pitch came, and I was this it was tough. It was tough.
It definitely was. I'm gonna leave the analyzing, if you will, of how the Jays lost to the Royals and Mariners fans that run our flagship show in Huss and Remo. I'll leave that to them. But man, yeah, we just had to address it right off the top. That absolutely sucked. The fact that Miguel Rojas hit a homer on a 3-2 count, top of the 9th. Jays were 2 outs away from winning their first World Series in 32 years, but they're gonna have to climb the mountain again and get all the way back.
I'm curious though, Connor. Like you said, we're not here to analyze. Just for everyone, I know we have a lot of casual Jays watchers like myself, kind of watching the show and everything like that. What's the Bo Bichette vibes here? Is this Nikolai Ehlers or what is in terms of him running it back with the group?
I do think he comes back, but now that you bring up Nikolai Ehlers, it does scare me a bit. I do think getting this close and losing with a team that you've been with your whole career helps the Jays in this scenario in terms of staying. Okay. I don't think they're going to have any issue paying him what he wants because Rogers and the Jays just went and probably printed money for the past 3 weeks with this playoff run.
No kidding.
Yeah, they're going to be just fine to pay him. So I do think he stays. I did get kind of Nikolai Ehlers vibes in terms of great player going into UFA year or free agent year. And not really sure about his future. Says he wants to come back, but do we really believe that kind of thing?
But what's he gonna say? No, I'm leaving.
Right,
When
and
your
he's not
team
gonna say
needs to
that.
be in this like unified time, especially a
Totally.
team like this that is so reliant on their chemistry and like their unity and everything. Like he's never gonna say that, obviously. So like,
Yeah.
I didn't put much stock into that, but also I don't know the guy, I don't know the player. But I did see some funny things on Twitter about the like, it's Game 7 in Toronto. 2 star players who have played their whole careers together. One is locked up and is the face of the franchise. The other, I was like,
no.
oh no.
Oh no. Yeah, unbelievable. And yeah, Toronto sports fans, I mean, this is a moment where we are one, where I am a Toronto sports fan with the Blue Jays, and it sucks. But yeah, Bo Bichette, I hope he comes back. I hope that 3-run bomb in Game 7 isn't the last, moment that he has as a J. I hope he stays for the next 14 years alongside Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That would be very fun. But like I said off the top, it's time to flush that. Like I said, I've had a lot of experience with my teams losing the big game. Let's just move on. Let's move on to the wagon that is the Winnipeg Jets. And Lyss, they welcomed the first place Pittsburgh Penguins to town yesterday. The 8-2-2 Pittsburgh Penguins, who I was shocked that they were first place in the NHL. Coming into yesterday's game, they did have a few injuries. Ricard Raquel was out. Justin Brazeau, who's been playing great for them, didn't play in that game either. But the Jets go in and win 5-2 at Canada Life Center. A very impressive performance, really start to finish. There were moments where the Penguins kind of crawled back into that game. But what's kind of your initial takeaway list from the Jets' 5-2 win over the Penguins yesterday to improve to 9-3 on the season and their third straight win?
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the season when we knew that Sandberg and Perfetti and Lowry were going to be missing some time and we were looking ahead, there was a lot to kind of circle in terms of the strength of schedule for the Jets and how easy it should be. And listen, they did play the first team in the NHL yesterday. I'm not trying to dunk on the Penguins. That is a team that's absolutely been riding the coattails of a new coach and really playing well and lots of PDO, but let's give them some grace because they were supposed to be last in the league. So a jump to first is quite impressive, and I give them their flowers for that. But I think that having back-to-back games here against the Chicago Blackhawks and the Pittsburgh Penguins, we saw, in my opinion, one of the best iterations of the Winnipeg Jets that we've seen so far this season. Like, they were fast, and Scott Arniel talked about that as well. And he talked about their transition game, and shout out to Murat Atesh from The Athletic for asking about that in Scott Arniel's post-game media yesterday, because their transition was fabulous yesterday. They were so fast on packs. They were snapping up everything and making it really difficult for, the Penguins to break out of their zone. There's one play in the first period that I remember so vividly of Jonathan Toews just kind of stripping Chris Letang of the puck, making him look absolutely goofy and saucing a puck to Vladimir Meskov in the middle of the ice. And he had so much time and such a sharp angle, like such a beautiful slot to shoot from that he almost didn't even know what to do with himself. And like, that was kind of indicative of how I think a lot of the game went, where it was just like the Jets were all over them and they were so quick to kind of jump on the counterattack. And it was one of the better performances through 60 minutes that I've seen from them kind of this year so far.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And I knew we were going to bring that up. So I went and clipped that Scott Arniel answer to Murat Atesh. Yeah,
you know me.
Yes. That was gonna come up because we were talking about it during the game. I remember saying to you in the second or third period, geez, it feels like the Jets have a lot of room in the neutral zone in this game, like more than they've had really all season long. And that's the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, they don't have Nikolai Ehlers, who was the best at that and creating space in the neutral zone and getting into the zone with speed. But without him, that was their best game this season, absolutely, in terms of the transition game. Couldn't agree more. Here's what Scott Arniel had to say when Murat Atesh from The Athletic asked him about that after the game.
Offense and D.
Yeah. We were. That's what I liked about it. We looked fast. And, that I had mentioned about, that the team the other night, Chicago, trying to clog up neutral zone. Pittsburgh's trying to do that with both coaches, new coaching staff, trying to really kind of slow the game down when they don't have the puck. I thought we played extremely fast. We got out of our zone fast. We got the neutral zone transition. We moved it quick. We didn't hold on to pucks. We didn't dust it off. We didn't take it back. And that looks more like us from last year. And it's been coming back into our game, and it's been a lot better in the last 3 or 4. And we're hard to defend when we come at people with speed like that.
their Scott O'Neill on the transition game, saying, that looks more like us. That's more their style of play. It's been coming back slowly but surely so far this season. And yes, when you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins on paper, are they a first-place team? Are they the Vegas Golden Knights? Are they the Colorado Avalanche? No. But the Winnipeg Jets can only play the team in front of them, and the Pittsburgh Penguins were in first place going into that game, and I thought it was a very impressive game, and the transition aspect of it played a huge role for sure. Listen, another thing that happened yesterday was we saw Brad Lambert, the Lambo, get his first career NHL goal, nailed the celly after two, just like smiling ear to ear. It was really nice to see Brad Lambert score his first NHL goal and then hear from him after the game, where someone played a prank on him, couldn't find his clothes, couldn't find his phone. Just seemed like the team was having a good time with Brad Lambert scoring his first career NHL goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those things. I don't know if you were the same. I was a defenseman growing up, and I remember I would get so mad, like secretly, when I would leave games if I thought I played really well and I scored a goal, because I knew, because again, having a dad, like my dad and I would debrief games and be like, hey, what did we do well? What did we not do well? And everything. And I never wanted to be like, ugh, like I only played well because I scored a goal. Like I thought I played well. The goal just like happened to happen, but it's like, goals do come when you're playing a little bit better. But all that's to say, that was Brad Lambert's best game as a Jet by far.
For sure.
Like not even close. And I don't want to just circle the goal. There were so many moments where he just absolute electric carry-ins, a couple of really nice passes from below the goal line, which is like not a huge hallmark of his game, but it was really nice to see that tool kind of come out of the toolbox. And I was like, okay, like I really like this. But we talked about this as well, Connor, when we were kind of, making our observations. I like that line. I like that line a lot. I like Cole Koepke, and I really like what Parker Ford has been able to do in the games that he's been able to get in. And like that is a tenacious line. That is a fun, fast line. That is a line that has a little bit more of like a unity identity sort of sense than the average fourth line does, where oftentimes it's like your ragtag guys that either just need to get into the lineup or aren't quite good enough to make it to the top nine, or kind of whoever just kind of falls down. Whereas in the top nine, you're able to strategically place guys with one another and everything, and whoever's left just gets thrown on the fourth line. That is kind of what happened here, just in terms of personnel, and Gustav Nyquist missing a game and everything like that. But as it so happens, I really like the complementary styling of those three players together. So I really liked their game. I thought Brad Lambert had the most pop that I've seen in his game as a Winnipeg Jet. So I was really happy to see him obviously get on the board pretty early in that one, but then continue to kind of keep his foot on the gas with that fourth line over the course of the game.
For sure. That fourth line has a ton of speed between the three of them, Koepke, Ford, and Lambert. And I thought they did a really good job. Like you said, it's cliche, getting pucks deep, but they need to get to those pucks and get fast and get in on the forecheck and force turnovers, and that's what they did. And the goal was a really nice one where it came to the neutral zone. Parker Ford kind of swooped in front of Cole Koepke, took the puck from him, wrapped it around the front of the net, and Brad Lambert fought for body positioning in the front of the net and banged home his first career NHL goal. So congratulations to Brad Lambert. And congratulations to the Winnipeg Jets for another win, their third straight, 9-3 on the season. Another thing that happened yesterday, Lyss, was the top line just continued kind of right where they've left off these last couple of games here. Kyle Connor with 2 goals. Gabriel Vilardi scores 15 seconds in. Gabriel Vilardi has 5 goals and 3 assists in his last 5 games. This guy's red hot after a bit of a slump to start the season. Lyss, what are you seeing from the top line right now? I know it's kind of become, redundant to talk about the top line almost every single week. And like, wow, they're still generating offense, guys. But like, it feels like they're even getting better. While the team is getting better, it seems like they're generating more. They're more dangerous. Gabriel Vilardi's now red hot and burying his chances. And while the Jets continue to figure out their bottom 9 and Lowry and Perfetti are coming back soon, it seems like that top line is very willing and able to carry the offense until those guys come back, and they're doing a fantastic job at generating and scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, taking away Kyle Connor's 2 goals from yesterday, because one was an empty netter and one was a shorthanded penalty shot, because, those happen all the time. The first 3 goals that the Jets scored were 5-on-5 goals, which is always very encouraging to see as well, when we know that this team can capitalize on the power play. And it's nice to see them kind of in that 5-on-5 circumstance, being able to dominate in the way that we know they can. But I think the thing that I want to circle about yesterday was that oftentimes when we talk about how much we like that top line, we talk about how, say you win the faceoff or you successfully retrieve the dump in or whatever you have. They're able to kind of protect the puck and make creative plays with it, whether the defending team is kind of pushing out against them or whether they're being quick on the attack. They're able to kind of hold on to the puck, make the decisions they want to make, and get off the shot that they want to get off very easily when they're kind of cycling the puck in the offensive zone, which is really impressive because it's not easy when you're kind of having a full 5-on-5 within the offensive zone to necessarily have the space that you need to create at the capacity that 3 creative players like that want to create at. But yesterday, we talked about this at the beginning of the show, but like the transition game was a little bit more impressive than we've seen this year. I thought I saw a bit of a different side of that line with how quick they were off the rush and different things like that, which is really nice to see because like we said, we know what they're able to do in terms of the stuff that is their patent, what they are elite at, what they are known for, what they get paid the big bucks for. But being able to kind of recognize in a certain game that maybe this Pittsburgh Penguins decor was a little bit flat-footed in this game. Scott Arniel made the joke in his post-game presser that whoever wins the game is whoever wakes up first, right? Like with these matinees, you are able to kind of jump on players fast if you have a hot start and they don't. It's nice to see them kind of being able to create such pressure off of the rush and a little bit more in transition. There are a couple of really nice, Kyle Connor neutral zone plays and stuff like that, where it's like, it kind of just diversifies the type of offense that not only you can create, but that other teams have to become accustomed to expecting you to create. And that makes it a lot more difficult to play against that line. If you're a team that's doing their video on, Connor Scheifele Velarde, you're like, okay, what are we going to do to win those board battles? What are we going to do to ensure that they can't get those cross-team passes, all that sort of stuff. But now if you have to add this whole other layer of like, oh my gosh, but they also have this added threat of being able to break out of their own zone and not always getting hemmed in necessarily, and being able to create some insane stuff in the neutral zone, breaking in and doing all those creative things that they can do off the rush and not just while they're in sustained zone play. Like that's really difficult. So I liked seeing that in that game because it felt like the type of game where that was needed. And it's nice to see. Obviously we know they can do it, but it was the game to play like that. And they did. So I really, really like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about that lighter schedule, if you will, to start the season without all of these players. The top line was always going to have this opportunity to kind of feast on some of the lower end teams in the NHL. Again, I don't know how to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins because look at their team on paper. They're not good. Like they're the top team in the NHL, riding a bit of a PDO streak. Jari and Shilovs are playing unreal in net, which is, goalies are voodoo. But hey, the Jets took care of the number 1 team in the NHL, and that is something that they did accomplish yesterday at Canada Life Center. I see waiters asking in chat if Scheifele is still leading the league in points. He is, and he stands alone. He's not tied for first. He is first with 20. And then there's a lot of players, tied for second, tied for fourth, tied for eighth. Kyle Connor's in there at 17, tied for 8th in the NHL in points. But Lyss, I bring up Mark Scheifele's points because I want to ask a question. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but if you remove the 2017-18 run from Mark Scheifele's legacy, say it just never existed, kind of like last night's Game 7 between the Jays and Dodgers, it just never happened, right? We've all. What
are you talking about?
Yeah. What could I be talking about? Say you remove that, are we watching the best offensive hockey of Mark Scheifele's career?
See, Kay, that's a great question.
All around, I think there's
probably
more of a debate, but offensively?
Well, because we know that because COVID's a bit of a tough time, whatever. But like we know that 2019 was the year that we all started going, what is going on with Scheifele and Wheeler? Like that was a really, really strange time, right? And all these things. I think you might be right because it's been a long time now, 12 consecutive games of just like really, really impressive show. Obviously didn't score or get any points in that Seattle game or whatever. Like it's not like every single game he's going out there getting 3 points, but like very, very impressive, performances from his line and his power play unit, kind of through 12 games here and everything. But the biggest thing for me is, you circle that 2017-2018 run, like he's shooting the puck. And I know it sounds so lazy and it sounds like such like armchair GM analysis, but like if you watch a lot of Jets hocky, it's true. You want Mark Scheifele to shoot the puck more. That 2017-18
Lyss is just up in the press box yelling shoot like the rest of the crowd. Yeah. At Mark Scheifele.
No, they'd kick me out.
Yeah, they would.
But No, it's like that 2017-18 run, what was it, 14 goals that he had in the playoff run
Right.
there? Like, a lot of them were on the power play, a lot of them were in that slot there, like, they were super fun, super cool, but, like, he came in, and was the top line center right away when he kinda joined this team and everything like that, but he kinda became a trigger man when he was playing with Blake Wheeler because of how good of a distributor Blake Wheeler is, and I don't wanna knock the player for that, but when Kyle Connor kind of came into his own and everything, and he's obviously like such a lethal shooter. I think Mark Scheifele deferred a ton to being the playmaker for him. And listen, when you have a $96 million goal scorer, yeah, you probably should do that if you're on a line with him. But it is nice to see him rip that out of his toolkit a little bit more because he has such an underrated release. And there are times and places where everybody needs to be able to shoot the puck. And so there were some moments yesterday where even Gabe Vilardi had some like longer range shots that he doesn't always take and everything like that. I'm like, yes, let's shoot the puck. Let's shoot the puck because like this is a line that isn't going to win the Corsi battle a ton because they pick their shots
Right.
as they should. But it is nice to kind of see, again, like I said, it's kind of going back to the whole concept of like ozone pressure cycling versus rush. It's like you have to manage that differently. It's very similar with, managing a team that's going to cycle the puck and take one shot versus a team that's going to take four, maybe some lower percentage ones, but you really do have to adjust to that differently. So every now and then, whether it's a different shift or just it happens to make sense to take that random goal line shot because why not sort of thing. Like I really like to see him kind of pull that out of his toolkit a little bit more. I've really been enjoying it. And he has so many of those goals. I don't remember 20 points. How many of them are goals? Yeah,
9
goals.
I believe. Yep.
We both said 9, so it's probably not. I don't
believe
know.
it's
I
9.
trust us. But they're pretty much all like
Just go like this.
just disgusting shots. Like they're so fun. And like I'm having a blast watching him play.
Yeah, me
There we
too.
go.
There he is. 9, tied for 3rd in the league in goals. Unbelievable. And I want to bring up this comment from Wesley here who said, everyone on that line is a big threat. Could not agree more. And they're all doing what all of them can do. And that sounds weird, but like Gabriel Vilardi scoring on a, all-in-one motion wrist shot from the slot in the game against Chicago, that's Mark Scheifele. Like, that's what Scheifele does from the pop position. That's not Gabe Vilardi's game. He's a net front guy, right? 2-on-1 last night, Gabriel Vilardi got absolutely robbed because Mark Scheifele, I think, is one of the best players in the league at freezing both the goalie and the defender on a 2-on-1 and then sliding it over for basically a tap-in. Vilardi got, like, just robbed blind because the goalie, Shilovs, dove over and got his glove on it. But everyone on that line, and you have games where Kyle Connor's not scoring, but he's the passer. He's the guy that's setting Mark Scheifele up. And it's all three of them have this is what makes them so dynamic offensively as a line is all three of them can do all of those things. They can all be the forechecking guy. They can all be the F3 and kind of track back. They can all be the zone entry guy. They can all be the shooter. They can all be the passer. They can all be the net front guy. Like it's very, very fun to watch this line. And I think when the Jets get Perfetti and Lowry back, they're going to get even better matchups because right now they're playing a lot. They're getting a lot of the offensive zone shifts, but with Lowry back, he'll get, maybe some of that top responsibility. Maybe they'll trust the Taves line a little bit more with Perfetti on it. And that frees up the Scheifele line maybe a little bit more to feast on.
Yeah, they had a ton of Crosby Malkin yesterday.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So that frees them up maybe to feast a little bit more. It's not going to change that much. It's your top line. They're going to have to play against the other team's best players, but it maybe frees them up for a couple more shifts a game to play against the other team's third pairing when you're at home and set up that matchup and do what they do, which is possess the puck in the offensive zone, ambush the other team with shots. At least that's what they're doing this year, or it seems like they are with more shooters or more shots coming from those guys. But yeah, unbelievable start to the season for Mark Scheifele. And Lyss, I was saying this to you yesterday on Mark Scheifele and Team Canada. I shouldn't be viewing him in the same category as Josh Morrissey. Like, I think that's irresponsible. Josh Morrissey to me is like but the way Scheifele's playing, I almost am. Josh Morrissey to me is like, he's not in the McDavid tier of like surefire lock, one of the first 6 players named to the team lock, but he's in that next tier of like, all right, Devon Taves is definitely going. Josh Morrissey's definitely going. Sam Reinhart, there's these other players that aren't the McDavid and McKinnons and Crosbys of the world that are definitely going. Josh Morrissey to me is in that tier. And Mark Scheifele, the race for him to make Team Canada is definitely on. But right now, leading the league in points, tied for third in goals, like he's inching towards being in the Josh Morrissey, like ahead of the bubble conversation, which again, he's very much in the bubble conversation. But when people bring up like Celebrini or Bedard or Scheifele, I don't even think that's a conversation. You know, like I think they would take Scheifele over those guys unless they're really going, you know, youth movement and playing for the future in some way. I don't know. I think Scheifele's really he made a strong case last year. And I do think that the 5 games before they named the team where he was clearly playing hurt, not taking faceoffs, didn't have really any points. I think a lot of people remember that stretch. I think that really hurt his chances because Team Canada maybe got cold feet and went, whoa, well, if this guy's hurt and can't even take faceoffs, we can't take him. If he stays healthy this year and stays on this pace, I don't see a scenario in which he doesn't make Team Canada. He's playing so well.
Yeah, I don't think you can put him into the same lock category as Josh Morrissey for the sole reason of the positions they play. Defense kind of sucks for Team Canada. This is not if this was Team USA right now, like I'd be like Josh Morrissey, I don't know if he's gonna make the team, bro, you know, kind of thing. Where it's like because of how insane their decor is, but so Josh has that kind of going for him, and on the contrary, there's so much center depth within the Team Canada prospect pool kind of here. So I understand why you can't really put them in the same category. But like you said, like I think we're kind of galaxy braining it and trying to almost like overcorrect. Like we're like, okay, we're so Winnipeg centric. Like obviously we think he should make it, but like what is everybody else saying? Like you said, he's leading the league in points and goals. Like that's a guy who, if his team is not suspended from international play, should be in this tournament. Like I don't think it gets. I understand why there's still hesitation, but I think most of the mock-ups I've seen and everything at this point, like he's making the team. He's making the team.
I think so too. If I had to predict right now, a few months in advance, if you will, I do think he makes the team. And I think he's going to remain on this tear, and the Jets are going to be a very good team because of it. And yeah, that has really come along these last 3 games. And we heard from Scott O'Neill earlier on the transition game talking about how that is coming along. I think the top line has been kind of the catalyst for that. They've gotten better through the neutral zone. They're getting into the offensive zone more often. And that's when you can start kind of, you know, Murat Atesh from The Athletic always writes about these handoff shifts for the Winnipeg Jets where they'll hem a team in for 30 seconds to a minute and then change on the fly, maintain possession against a tired group. And that's kind of when the avalanche starts of offense. When the top line is moving through the neutral zone with pace, with efficiency, getting into the zone, starting those offensive possessions, that's when those handoff shifts start. And then you can bring on Jonathan Toews, who had a really nice pass on Vladimir Mesikov's goal last night. You can, you know, bring out Morgan Barron, who seems to be, you know, the hardest working Jet every single game and generating chances. It's very, very fun to watch when that line is on. But Liz, I do want to bring up, Jay Miller asked for the goal visualizer. And you know, we love bringing up the goal visualizer here on Sunday Live and on the WST postgame reactions. We'll be back Tuesday, late one against LA. Hopefully the Jets can reward people for staying up late with a win. But let's go to that Jonathan Toews play before we move on here. Vladimir Meskov already has 6 goals, by the way. He had 11 all of last season. He's already got 6.
What a freak.
Unreal. But this play by Jonathan Toews is a very strong one. I think is very easy to say. He's tracking back. The Penguins have the puck at the start of this clip. They force it out front, and then Jonathan Toews kind of wins the race there ahead of 38, beats some other players up the ice, opens up to the middle of the ice, and fires a pass right on the tape of Vladimir Meskov, where it's not a tap-in, but it's definitely, you know, a redirection, if you will, that it isn't, you know, just a backdoor, put your stick down. It needed some redirecting, but a really nice play from Jonathan Toews, Lyss, who seems to be getting more comfortable by the game. And the analytics weren't there, I'd say, the first 5 or 6 games. And I think that's what maybe gave people pause on Jonathan Toews. Was he looked great. He was winning a lot of faceoffs, but the analytics weren't coming along. The analytics seemed to be slowly but surely coming along with Jonathan Toews, who had a strong game analytically at 5-on-5 last night and had this pretty sweet primary assist of Vladimir Meskov.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this pairing, to be honest with you. And we talked about this a little bit, you and I, about the whole idea of what to do with Vladimir Meskov, and not in a bad way. Like, I think, you know, he and Alex Iafallo, I really like them as complementary players. And, you know, we talk about every hockey team is different, and depending on what kind of pieces you have and how you want to construct your lineup, a thing that some teams do and do really well with is kind of having forward pairings instead of forward lines, and sort of plugging in guys who can sort of just have a motor and hang with them. And I foresee Vlad Nemestikov and Alex Iafallo kind of having that in their toolkits personally, where it's like, okay, if you need to distribute the wealth a little bit more and you have to start doing forward pairings, say you have Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, and then you plug in Alex Iafallo as their guy. And then say you have, Gabe Vilardi and Jonathan Toews. Then you could plug in Vlad Nemestikov as their guy, or whatever you want to do, and to spread out the wealth a little bit more if you have to, whatever. But after the game yesterday, I I turned and looked at Connor immediately when Scott said this, because I can't remember what the exact question was or why it was brought up, but someone basically asked something to the effect of, what about Vlad Nemestikov? And, again, like you said, 6 goals, like, what's going on? Like, this is awesome. It's great. And his move to the wing. And Scott Arniel basically said that this is preparing for the return of Adam Lowry, because it sounds like Vlad Nemestikov is going to be moving to the wing. And I am dialed about that. I like that move. I think that we might actually be able to see a little bit more from this player. This is a guy who got a lot of our turning down picks last year. This is a guy that we were kind of wanting to see a little bit more from, because of the, 10-year-old question of what to do with the second line center position in the Winnipeg Jets. And it's not his fault that narrative has gone on longer than almost his NHL career has, but it simply has. Like, it's just such an ongoing thing. And he wasn't necessarily always being perfect in that role and giving us stuff to talk about, right, and stuff like that. So I think that the idea of moving him to the wing, I think, opens up a ton of opportunity for us to see the best of what he has to offer. That play is a really good example of that is transition play in a nutshell, right? That quick, the takeaway, the counterattack. Jonathan Toews makes a really nice play to kind of break that up on the boards and carry it through. But like, that's a really, really fast line for Vlad Nemestikov to have to kind of take and run and get there. And you keep calling it a tap in. That is a really, really, really nice deflection that he makes to get that puck in. Like,
I'm not trying to take away from it. Yeah. It's a nice play. Nice play.
I actually, okay, guys, nobody take away my credibility here, but I missed that goal. I wasn't back sitting down because it happened so early in that second period. I wasn't back yet, and so I asked Connor about it before I went to go watch it, and I was like, "Is it the kind of goal that like I could have scored?" Sort of thing, because he was talking about how nice of a play that Jonathan Toews made, where it's like sometimes it's like you can't not score on that because of how well. And there was one, I think, the power play goal that Jonathan Toews is one of his primary assists earlier in the game that Vlad Nemestikov scored. It was like one of those, it's like, yeah, like anyone could score that goal because of how nice Jonathan Toews' setup was for it. But that is not the case. I could not have scored. Well, maybe I could have. But all that's to say, he absolutely flies through the neutral zone to get there and be a viable option for Jonathan Toews to make that pass on that play. And like, I think that we might unlock a little bit more of the better parts of Vlad Nemestikov's game with a more permanent move to the wing. And so I'm interested to see what the combinations are going to look like. I've been really liking Nino Niederreiter's season so far. He's a guy that I think I was also a little bit hard on last year, and I really liked him. So I think that the whole idea of Nemestikov and Niederreiter and Iafallo kind of spreading out a little bit in that middle six, I think actually gives them a lot of opportunity to really have some fun there and have some juice.
Yeah, absolutely. And on today's Chud's Power Sports Power Poll, we are ranking our top 5 centers on the Winnipeg Jets, and that includes Vlad Nemestikov, who's now on the wing. But with Adam Lowry's return seemingly imminent, Scott Arniel kind of teased at it going into the weekend that they were going to practice. They'll practice tomorrow. I'm expecting Adam Lowry to skate tomorrow and then play on Tuesday. That's kind of how the Jets made it sound over the weekend, that, he gets in a couple practices and then plays. How much he plays, to be seen. I wouldn't be shocked if they kind of, load manage him back into the mix, but definitely expecting Adam Lowry back in the lineup very soon for the Winnipeg Jets. And that's big news. And because of that, we decided to rank our top five Winnipeg Jets centers on today's Power Poll. Now, first, let me let you know that our Chud's Power Sports Power Polls are brought to you by Chud's Power Sports, out at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli. They have it all when it comes to power equipment and tools, ATVs, UTVs, boats. I've got the website up behind me here. just so much. Like I said last week, I've been camping my whole life. I haven't seen half of these things that Chud's has on their website. There's a ton here. Golf carts, tractors, dirt bikes, street bikes, Argos and Sasquatches. And they also have a massive parts department as well if you're just looking for some parts to kind of tune up what you already have. And I highly recommend, if you're looking for any kind of power sports, go to Chud's, go to their website, chudspowersports.com. I've got it up behind me here. They've got some great deals on as well right now as we're heading into the winter seasons. I know no one wants to talk about it, but the snow is coming soon. It's November. Christmas music is now officially okay to play. It's November, and winter's coming soon. So for all your parts, all of your power sports needs, visit chudspowersports.com. You can also check them out in store at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. Thank you once again to Chud's for sponsoring this episode, WST Sunday Live, and our Chud's Power Sports Power Polls. Now, Lyss, let's get to today's Power Poll, which is, like I just said, ranking the top 5 Winnipeg Jets centers on the team right now. And this includes Adam Lowry, who's coming back. This includes Vlad Meskov, who's currently on the wing. But here it is. Vlad Meskov, number 5. Morgan Barron has leapfrogged Vlad on our list at number 4. Jonathan Toews is at number 3. Adam Lowry's at number 2. And Mark Scheifele, of course, league leader in points, tied for 3rd in goals. He's the number 1 center on the Winnipeg Jets. We know that. But Lyss, what do you think of this power poll? And, you talk about Vlad moving to the wing. I think it's also a credit to Morgan Barron and how well he's played this season that it's Vlad moving to the wing and not Morgan Barron, who's played wing a lot more than center in his NHL career.
Yeah, I don't know if it's entirely just, promotion for Morgan Barron, this, that, whatever. I think there also is an element of they want to play Vlad Meskov more than just a 4th line player. So I think that there is an element of that too, where it's like, if this guy gets healthy, that guy gets healthy, whatever, you want to find a way to keep some guys in your middle 6, right? So I think that it's not just, he's a guy who gets moved up in the lineup while guys are hurt and then he's the first to go. I think there's an element of them liking the type of play that he brings to a middle 6 matchup. But Morgan Barron has been kind of fabulous, let's be real, for the first little bit of the season. And like we were kind of making jokes yesterday, his goal scoring heater has cooled off a little bit, but he just brings such a fun style of play to the bottom 6 of a lineup that I personally really, really like, because it's not just, this guy's a washed top 6 player, which means he has to play bottom 6. And I'm not trying to name names, but this is something that like we see a ton in the National Hockey League, right? And so I think that like he's the type of guy that can go out there and wreak some havoc on either tougher competition if you're trying to just kind of neutralize it, or actually kind of feast a little bit on weaker competition, because that's sometimes the difference between a 3rd and a 4th line, right? Is the 3rd line is going out there and you're hoping that they can just, manage and keep things 0-0 against the best opponents. But then the 4th line sometimes will go out there against the other team's 4th line. And if you can kind of fight fire with fire and your fire's got a little bit of gasoline, which we know that Morgan Barron does, that makes for a ton of fun. So I like this list. And I think that there is potential over the course of the season, depending on how Adam Lowry returns from his injury, depending on how Jonathan Toews continues to kind of pick up his play, that maybe those two could flip. And there's also a potential that, Morgan Barron could, slide down a little bit. We're not saying that this is necessarily the be all end all list, but as of right now, like this is kind of how I feel like the Winnipeg Jets probably view this group in terms of center depth. And, you only play 4 centers a game. So there goes Vlad Meskov to the wing, able to keep him up in the lineup a little bit more. And also have kind of a backup face-up option on the line that he's playing on, which is always nice as well.
Yes, absolutely. And Morgan Barron has been awesome. And you said that the scoring has tailed off, and it absolutely has, at least for his early season heater, if you will. But he's still generating a ton. He's still, like I said, basically the hardest working Jet every single game. That guy just flies around out there. And it's honestly fun to watch and a great element to have in your bottom 6 if you're the Winnipeg Jets, as a player who just never quits on the play, will always, grind out in the corners. And yesterday, that shot hits the post. Morgan Barron is right there to tap the puck in. I don't know how he missed it, but that scoring heater would have returned if he just whacked that puck in from the crease. But they're definitely generating. They're definitely, great on the penalty kill as well. Morgan Barron, that speed, he's great at using his stick on the penalty kill as well. He's been very, very good for the Winnipeg Jets, at least by my eyes, to start this season. Kenny's water bottle says, Connors, Adam Lowry is the Jets' second best centerman this season, and he hasn't even played a game yet. How bad is everyone else? How do we know Lowry won't be rusty? The number 3 guy on the list took 2 years off. Adam Lowry took 6 months off. And the last time, Adam Lowry, I feel like people sometimes forget. Game 7 against the St. Louis Blues. We talk about Cole Perfetti. We talk about, the Manitoba Miracle, 1.6 seconds. Adam Lowry scored the overtime winner in that game, Liss. And here, by the way, he was the Jets' number 1 center that night because Mark Scheifele didn't play. So maybe Lowry could be number 1 because he won the team at deciding, game 7. But here, Adam Lowry played 30 minutes at 5-on-5 that night. Here's what his stats were. With him on the ice, the Jets outshot the Blues 43-19. He scored the goal in overtime. The expected goals, 75%. Scoring chances were 15-5, and high danger chances 8-1 in a deciding winner-take-all Game 7 on home ice when he's the number 1 center. Adam Lowry's really good.
That's my go, man.
Adam Lowry's really good.
I need to give a plug to something I'm doing on Twitter right now where I went through and I created watchability rankings for Winnipeg Jets players, which if you're unfamiliar with the concept, I got the idea from a podcast that I listened to, PDOcast, Dmitry Filipovich, good buddy of the show. And they kind of go through teams and they're like, how fun are they to watch and all these different things. And so I decided to rank all the Winnipeg Jets within like these 8 specific categories I came up with and like how fun it makes them to watch. And one of the categories is called dog. And basically it's like, how capable is this player of just like putting a team on his back for like 2 periods and just playing the most elite hockey you've ever seen in your entire life? And you go, what's going on right now? And Adam Lowry is number 2 in that category. I did give Josh Morrissey number 1 in that category. Nice. Spoiler alert, you haven't gotten that one yet, but because Josh Morrissey also can do that, but like above Mark Scheifele, above everybody else, like when Adam Lowry has a dog game, it's like out of this world fun. So yes. I appreciate you giving him some respect for that because yeah, like that game, that was insane. Like no Mark Scheifele, no Josh Morrissey, right? He also left.
Josh Morrissey left that game within a minute. Yeah.
Mark Scheifele didn't play at all, but Josh Morrissey left that game, right? So
yeah.
And like the whole game. And that was, again, one of those things where it's like Hayden Fleury, like I've been critical of that player too, but it's like I had to rate him like kind of highly in that dog category. It was like he went ballistic, bro. Like he was so good.
Also, Lowry did it on a hip that 2 days after the playoffs ended needed surgery. Like you don't think he was dealing with that during Game 7? I don't know. Adam Lowry's really
He's
good.
all the animals. He's a goat. He's a dog. That's
absolute
that's our
dog. He's a stud at 5-on-5 and on the penalty kill and all of those things. And I can't wait to watch him back in the Jets lineup. Their centers have really stepped up though. Like I think it is a credit to Taves and Barron that there are people in chat that want Lowry maybe even lower. Those guys have looked good. And I know people are talking about Parker Ford in chat, who's the current 4th line center. We have him at the not seen number 6, I think, on the list for the power poll. Just missed out from Vlad Meskov. But that's our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll. Thank you once again to Chud's for sponsoring our power polls and this episode of Winnipeg Sports Talk Sunday Live. Now, Liss, before we move on to our trending up-down segments and our burning questions, I do just want to have maybe a bigger picture discussion about the Jets with Lowry coming back, Sandberg and Perfetti coming soon in the next couple of weeks. I tweeted this out this morning because I think if you go back to our final episode of Sunday Live before the Jets started their season, when we knew Perfetti and Sandberg and Lowry would be out until at least November, I probably on that show said, if they're 500 by the time those players come back, that's a win. I think as a Jets fan, you should take that because those 3 players mean so much to this team. I'm pretty sure I also said, we're either going to be talking about how desperately the Jets need those players back or how awesome of an addition it'll be to what's already a very good team. I think it's becoming the latter in terms of, adding them to a good team. I tweeted out kind of this list of where the Winnipeg Jets sit in the NHL. And if you want kind of a cleanser for what happened yesterday with the Bombers and the Blue Jays, here's your hockey team. They're second in points with 18. They're tied for first in points percentage at 750, tied for first in wins with 9, tied for first in regulation wins with 8, first in goal differential plus 15, fourth in goals for 45, third in goals against 30, first in team save percentage 922, first in penalty kill percentage 91.1%, eighth in power play percentage, which honestly is misleading because they're 27.8%, which is right around where they were last year. That's without Cole Perfetti. They're undefeated on the road, 4-0. They're missing Samberg, Lowry, and Perfetti, who are 3 of their 7 highest impact skaters, and they have the league leader in points in Mark Scheifele. Pretty fun start to the year, Liz. I honestly didn't think the Jets had this club in their bag early in the season. And yes, they're shooting at a high percentage. They're getting great saves. They have the MVP in net. Of course they're getting the saves. Of course their PDO is high. And talented shooters like Connor and Scheifele and Velarde are seemingly only getting better. Where are you kind of at with the Winnipeg Jets, as it feels like we're getting through this first block of the season without these high impact skaters in the middle 6 and the top 4 and Dylan Samberg? Where are you at with this team maybe at late November as opposed to right now? Has your thoughts on them with those 3 players back changed at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to change your question. I'm going to answer a different question.
Sure.
Which is,
so you're going to do like what every NHL coach does. Go for
correct. Yeah. I've sat in a lot of media at this point, so I know how to, if I don't like this question.
Arneil's actually good at answering the question. I should say that. We should. Yes, but go ahead.
I think, crazy take perhaps, the Jets might be in almost the perfect position right now. And hear me out. They have a lot to work on. They are not perfect. You look at the underlyings, you talk about the PDO, the shooting heater, all these different things that are going on. Like, this is a team that has work to do. But they're winning enough games that they're banking these points and all these different things where it's like they are kind of overachieving compared to where we thought they might be able to be in terms of, the actual standings of the division. So they're getting these wins, which are just, at the end of the day, they're so important. Like, you do need these points, but they're not doing so with enough conviction that the team is going to sit and just coast. So I think that they're in a great spot where it's like, it would be one thing if it's like, okay, here are all the things that we're learning about this team and we're growing and we're getting better and all this sort of stuff. But it's like, but they're 0-12 or whatever. And that makes it really difficult to kind of catch up. Like, I've seen some crazy stats lately about, we talk about American Thanksgiving as a really good benchmark, but like teams, when they're leading the division at, beginning of November or something, is like crazy, like not even that far into the season, like they make the playoffs X% of the time, whatever. Like, these wins matter. Like, these are reflective of who these teams are to a certain degree. So I think the fact that they're at a stage right now where they are able to bank wins and bank points while missing such key parts of their team, but also kind of having a clear-cut path of where they need to improve and how they need to get better is really good. Because I think this team is probably not sitting being like, yes, we are the best team in the National Hockey League. We are awesome.
They're
not. Probably like,
they're not. We've heard it from the players.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
And I think that's my favorite part of this 9-3 start is the fact that at 7-3, you have Scott Arniel coming up there after a win against Minnesota and going, that wasn't good enough. That wasn't good. That was Connor Hellebuck. Thank you, Connor Hellebuck. Like, you have Jonathan Taves being asked about it and saying, yeah, I love when our coach, when we win a game and he comes into the locker room and goes, look, we got the win, great, but we need to be a heck of a lot better. And the Jets are getting better. You look at the Chicago and Pittsburgh games, teams they're probably supposed to beat at home. Those games went how you'd want them to go for the Winnipeg Jets. But even at 7-3, they were sitting there going, there's a lot of work we need to do. Yes, we're going to get players back, but you heard it in the transition answer that we played earlier on with Arniel, saying that looks more like us. They're looking more and more like the Winnipeg Jets of last season, and they haven't even gotten these players back yet. And I love when a team wins a game that they shouldn't have, and everyone knows it, and they don't pretend like they're the best team ever, Like, I really do think that that's a sign of the culture that the Winnipeg Jets have built over the last number of years. Like, if they win a game and it's Connor Hellebuck making 36 saves on the road against a desperate Wild team that's really struggling to start the year, they're not saying, yeah, we're awesome. We won that game and we're the best. They know that they need to be a lot better. And the past 2 games have been a step towards that. They've gotten I've seen progress in the past couple of games, and they haven't even gotten these players back yet. So that's
Yeah, I mean, I think this
yeah.
time of the year, what you want to do is kind of, like you said, kind of figure out what clubs you do have in your bag and kind of get that sorted out, but not at the expense of losing points that you should be getting. And so that's why I think I like where we're at right now, is where it's like, okay, like you can see this is a part of a game where they're struggling. This is a part of a game where they actually looked really good. And this pairing of forwards actually looks awful together. And all these different things that you need to be able to trial out over the course of the regular season. But you have to manage being able to win hockey games as well. Cause like not everyone, I'm sorry, is the October Edmonton Oilers or the Florida Panthers where you can, just coast and be like, yeah, we're cool with never having home ice advantage all the way through the
Right.
Stanley Cup playoffs. Like, no, like not everyone can do that, unfortunately. And not everyone wants to do that. And so I think it is really nice to see kind of all these different pieces coming together. And I think it was part of what made them good last year as well, right? Where, it was similar, the 15-1 start or whatever, all these different things, President's Trophy winning team, but the team was never like, yeah, we're content. But I understand that professional hockey teams don't really get complacent. But I think it's really on full display with this Jets group. And look, it should be. This is not a perfect hockey team. Every single game I watch, I'm like, oh, okay, like let's got to circle this a little bit more and all that
Right.
sort of stuff, right? So I think everyone acknowledges that there's a long way to go for them, but all things considered, losing one of their most dynamic players this offseason, having all these high impact guys, hurt and all this sort of stuff. I'm not making excuses. I'm just explaining circumstances, and I am just kind of, as a general blanket statement, pleased with where they're at, kind of at the beginning of November here.
I think you have to be. You lose the Oilers in the offseason, Samberg, Lowry, Perfetti out. 9-3, I did not think was possible. First in points percentage in the league, I did not think was possible. First in the West by points percentage. Again, Colorado's ahead of them, but as people have pointed out in chat, they've lost 5 games in overtime, which also is crazy in its own right, that a team with McKinnon, Natchez, and McCarr is losing in overtime. I don't even know how that's possible. Those are 3 of the most dynamic players in the sport when it comes to speed and playing off the rush. With extra space, you think they'd be dynamite, but they've lost 5 games in OT and shootout. I didn't think that that this was possible, PDO, heater, or not. I just didn't think that they had the horses, but they're here.
And here's what the PDO heater, I get it, whatever, it's a whole thing, but the Jets are taking really good shots. Connor Hellebuyck is the MVP. These are still things that are happening. I understand that it's likely to get worse before it gets better, which is always the thing you have to look at with any stat ever, advanced or not advanced, whatever. It's if you operate under the guise that this is never going to be exactly the same, what is more likely, that this gets better or worse? Where they're at with the PDO right now, it's more likely to get worse than it is to get better. So you kind of have to circle that, but it is still happening. So there definitely is a little bit of balance there with all that, for sure. Right?
Their PDO is bound to get worse. They're bound to regress. They also have the MVP in net, and they don't need to apologize for anyone for that. But their underlying metrics, which is part of our concern list, are 100% going to get better. They're adding back one of the best 5-on-5 shutdown centers in the league in Adam Lowry. They're getting back a minute munching elite second pairing defenseman in Dylan Samberg. This is going to get better in terms of the underlying 5-on-5 metrics, and that's why it's kind of just been about surviving these first couple of weeks, but they're doing more than that. Like I said, they're first in a lot of categories, top 5 in a lot of categories. And yes, the 5-on-5 stuff, especially early in the season, was concerning. They were relying on Hellebuyck a lot, but they're going to have to rely on him less and less, I think, as they get these players back and ultimately become a better hockey team with 3 of their 7 highest impact skaters. I don't think that other teams across the league would be 9-3. Connor Hellebuyck, he's the MVP.
Yeah, here's my thing though, and I feel like my expectations might have been a little bit higher than yours, just because I'm I understand that is the circumstance of where these guys are at right now, but they do need to be better than what maybe we want to give them grace to be. And so, again, 9-3, more impressed. I needed them to be better than 500. I think that would have been unacceptable to me, to be honest with you. I think that I just knowing what the team's expectations are for themselves, what their kind of reputation has become, and what they have to do now that they won the President's Trophy last year, all this different stuff. And also, injuries happen. You lose high impact guys all the time. So how do you adjust and how do you manage? I think their floor had to be higher than a 500 team. So I'm altogether content with
Yeah.
kind of the status of where we're at.
Fair enough. Yeah, my expectations coming into the season in the first month were definitely lower than yours. I will say Matt brings up a great point here. Regardless of lineup structure, should still be solid. This is a Sean Reynolds-ism that the Winnipeg Jets superpowers their structure, whether it was Rick Bowness or Scott Arniel, and couldn't agree more. This structure can just plug in a guy at second line center who's never played or hasn't played in 2 years. All these new players, Nyquist, who's currently injured, Pearson, the back end can lose Sandberg, and they still find ways to win. Yes, Connor Hellebuck's awesome, and we say it almost every single game, but still impressive nonetheless that they're 9-3. Yes, and Brent brings up a good point here too. And who they were playing 500 would have been bad as well. Looking at the schedule, the teams below them in the standings that they should have beat. Pittsburgh above them in the standings, but like I said, I don't know how to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins, especially this year list. Let's move on to one of our 2 segments here on WST Sunday Live, Trending Up Down. This is the part of the show where we pick one Winnipeg Jet who is trending up or down over the past week of play. And we can't pick players who we chose last week. Liz, do you remember who we chose last week while I quickly bring it up? You do remember?
I do,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So last week, I don't remember who picked what, but it doesn't matter. We're a team here. Trending up, our picks were Morrissey and Taves.
Yep.
And then trending down, our picks were Kepke, which I spelled wrong on our spreadsheet, and Gustav Nyquist.
Okay. All right. So this is, yes, we're going to pick one Winnipeg Jet trending up or down from the past week of play. Let us know your picks in the comments down below. And while you're down there, make sure you hit the like button as well. Usually we do that. You can't pick a player that you already picked last week for trending up down. We'll try and abide by that rule. If not possible, we can, maybe
you
break.
have to self-officiate.
Yeah, self-officiate. Absolutely. But in the chat, you don't have to follow that rule. Let me just make that totally clear. Pick a player that's trending up or down. Don't worry about who we picked last week or who you picked last week. Just trending up, down. And let us know your picks down below. But Liz, three straight wins. Pretty easy trending up. Who do you got?
I think I'm going to give, and this is maybe, again, a bit of overcorrection from last year and everything. I'm going to give my trending up to Vlad Namestnikov. Obviously, I was kind of giving him glowing reviews for this entire episode so far. And he and Mason Appleton and Logan Stanley, I feel like last year were just kind of like the throwaway, like they got trending down a lot. And so
Fair.
I'm really happy to be able to give him this award, which feels super warranted. I'll give him some love for that. I think that maybe not as easy of a tap in as who I feel like is going to be your pick, but Vlad Namestnikov gets my trending up.
Yes, that's a great pick. 6 goals so far this season. Like I said earlier, he had 11 all season last year. Vlad Namestnikov off to a great start, and I shared the intrigue with you, Liz, with him on the wing over these next couple of weeks here with Adam Lowry returning. I'm going Velarde. Everyone in chat is just spamming Gabe Velarde. The early season slump seems like a long time ago when it comes to Gabe Velarde. 5 goals and 3 assists in his last 5 games. He is red hot, had 2 goals the other night, 1 goal yesterday afternoon, came 15 seconds into the game. And one thing I think that Gabe Velarde is doing maybe better this season is part of that transition game, or better as of late this season. He's not the guy on that line that's usually the entry machine, but what he's really good at is, popping the puck into space for Connor and Scheifele to go on a 2-on-1, or for Scheifele, who's streaking through the middle, to take that puck and for him to enter the zone. And Velarde, we know he's amazing at knocking pucks down. Teams are trying to go D to D. They're trying to make passes up the middle of the ice when they're forechecking, and Velarde's there. His stick is all over it. He's forechecking. He's digging in the corners. He's the net front guy, and he's playing into his strengths and also adding a little bit more. You look back at the Chicago game, he's in the middle of the slot with a wrist shot that beats Spencer Knight to the blocker side. That looks like Mark Scheifele. That doesn't look like Gabe Velarde. He doesn't usually score from that far out. His goal chart at the end of the year is usually just a bunch of dots in the crease. But if he can add that a little bit, man, he's going to have a huge year. Year 1 of a 6-year extension. Liss, at $7.5 million AAV. Gabe Vilardi over a point a game right now, 13 points in 12 games.
Didn't even bring it up, but we got our first combined points graphic of the year from at NHL Jets. I was dialed. I was like, we're so back.
Combined
we're so back.
Points. Our favorite stat, for sure. No.
You know what? I always dug on. I'm like, there's no such thing as a bad stat. Like, I'll fight people on plus minus. I'll fight people on all these things. I'm like, everything is good. Everything is valuable. We just need to talk about combined points. I might not have
I might not have it.
For that.
It just might not have the juice as a stat. It might not. I will say the graphic that at NHL Jets posted with the top line being locked up to 2031 plus, I was like, oh boy, they're setting themselves up for like a unfortunate hockey events like dunked on tweet here. I think it's a fortunate hockey event if you're the Winnipeg Jets that line is locked up till 2031 and beyond. Connor for 8 years, Scheifele for 6 more, I believe, and then Vilardi for 6 more. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of Connor, Scheifele, Vilardi. We're going to talk about them a lot on this show over the coming years. And Matt here saying Scheifele, second star of the month.
Who knows how many life transitions will go through Connor while still talking about them? Like CSV. I feel like Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler like saw me graduate high school. They saw like
yeah, they watched you back through the TV. No. Matt here saying Scheifele, second star of the month. We didn't even bring this up. I mean, we talked about Scheifele. He was first in points, third in goals. Second star of the month, for the month of October. Great start to the season for Mark Scheifele. Up Stanley.
Who was the first star of the month?
It was Jack Eichel, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, valid.
With Vegas.
God, he's so good.
Yeah, he's really good. Stanley got a pick here. Vilardi. Bardot says Vladdy names. Kenny's water bottle says trending down. How I rank or how I decide the Chud's Power Sports Power Polls. Very fair.
Hey, I picked this week's.
Wow. So it's you, Liss. Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Dude, up
Playing
Vilardi,
the right person.
down Fleury. Interesting. Okay, let's get to trending down. Okay. People, the picks are flooding in. Liss, who do you have for trending down this week?
I think I have a little bit of a easy pick, but I was looking at our list. Since the season actually started, we haven't picked him once yet, so I don't feel bad choosing Luke Schenn as my trending down pick. Didn't play yesterday. It was disclosed that part of it was because of the shot he blocked or whatever it was in last game, because he ended up leaving the game. But look, he's looked a little slow this week, and then I think that's not something I'm anticipating to change as they go down to California and play against some of these really fascinating teams, and he's a guy who I think it's tough to watch someone who knows they can be better. I feel like it's just his body and life, I think that we've seen the best hockey of Luke Schenn's career, and can he still be an NHL player? I'm sure he probably can. I just think that this wasn't his best week. So he didn't play yesterday, and part of that I think is getting Colin Miller into lineup. Part of it is also, maybe if that shot he blocks 4 years ago, he plays in that game. I don't know, but he's going to get my trending down pick of the week.
I think it's a good pick. Again, not sure how much that hand injury kind of limited him in terms of playing yesterday, but Scott O'Neill did say that it played a factor. If you missed it in the Chicago game, Luke Schenn was standing in front of the net, shot came from the point and it hit him in the hand, and he was immediately shaking it. He left the game for about 5 minutes, came back for the third period. So he played the rest of that game, practiced the next day, but did not play on Saturday against Pittsburgh. And I agree with you. I mean, going on the road here, there are some fast teams as well that the Winnipeg Jets are going to be playing. We're going to bring up the schedule in just a second, but you get LA on Tuesday. They've got some skill at the top of their line. Then you get like San Jose and Anaheim, who are two teams that, again, San Jose and Anaheim, two teams the Jets probably should beat, but they've got a ton of that speed, that youthfulness off the rush that Luke Schenn will struggle with at times so far this season, and has struggled with this season. So I think that's a great pick. I'm going to take the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for the final time. I'm going off the board for Winnipeg Jets players because they have won 3 straight games, and I do like the way they're playing right now. And another player, I was thinking Tanner Pearson, but I haven't even really thought that he's trending down, but that's really the only pick for me. Like, I go through the entire lineup. I don't really see another player that's really trending down. Comrie's playing
the
good.
Fourth line's been good.
Fourth line's been good. Iafalo's been good.
They gave a goal.
PK gave up a goal. I'm going to stick with the Bombers.
That's not a thing that they were doing before.
I'm going to stick with the Bombers. Their championship appearance streak of 5 years came to an end yesterday. They're naturally trending down. Older core. Zach Calero's coming back for another year. A lot of free agents, which is just, every year in the CFL, everyone's on a 1-year deal, so there's always free agents. But, yeah, they're trending down. East semifinal loss to the Montreal Alouettes. We'll see where they go from here. I'm taking the Winnipeg Blue Bombers trending down, who really, like, their loss yesterday was not even close to the crushing defeat of the Blue Jays, which, again, off the top, if you want our depression session off the top, it was fun. Well, it wasn't.
I can't, that Kevin Hart meme of, like, the woman, like, holding him and he's, like, this on her and she's, like, no, yelling at people. That's how I feel about Ernie Clement, and it's so funny. Like, everyone else is, like, also in this Ernie Clement tier, but I'm like, anyone says anything bad about that freaking 21 singles. Oh my gosh, and he was so close. I can't. He's like,
the bottom of that.
Like, I've been crying for an hour, and I'm like, stop, Ernie.
Was it the bottom of the 9th or the 10th where he hit that one to the warning track and they collided? Oh, that would have been amazing. Ernie Clement walk off. Oh my God, would have been cinema, but they'll have to do it again next year. Yeah, unreal. Now we just made ourselves sad. That great job trending up down. We're trending down. Our moods are trending down. Boom. There's my pick. No, I'm taking the Bombers. Anyways, let's move on, Liz, to our next segment, which will lift our spirits because we have the best chat room ever. They've been on fire today, and they can continue that fire with one burning question.
That was a good one.
Hey, we can all do our job every once in a while, but one burning question. This is the part of the show where we open it up to the chat room. You guys drop your questions down below, and we'll try and rapid fire through as many of these as we can before we wrap today's show. So drop your questions in the chat below, and we will get to, like I said, as many as we can before we wrap. We really appreciate all of you joining us right here, WST Sunday Live. It's going to be an exciting month with the Jets getting these players back, looking to maintain their spot atop the league, atop the Central, the West. And we can't wait to break it all down right here on WST Sunday Live and on the post-game reactions for you all. Some late games this week, so maybe if you don't want to stay up and just listen to our post-game reaction the next morning, totally understandable. There are some late ones starting on Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. Central. Man, that's going to sting staying up for that one. But we will have WST post-game reactions for every game except for Saturday games, which I believe on this road trip there's only one Saturday game. So we'll have 5 of the 6 covered for you on this road trip. And then the Saturday game, obviously, we're right here, WST Sunday Live. But let's get to one burning question. Bryson asks, who's going on the road trip? Does Chibrikov get sent down for Lowry? Do we call up a defenseman since Shen is hurt?
It's a great question.
Great question. Liz, what do you think? I think Chibrikov's the guy that gets sent down first out of Lambert, Ford, Chibrikov. Okay. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think Ford stays. I think that it's a great question because, like you said, it's a long road trip. The Manitoba Moose are playing today and tomorrow, and then they're also going on a super long road trip. They leave this week, and then they're not back until closer to the end of the month. Like they're gone for a really long time. So I think that doing a little bit of a personnel shift after this Moose homestand finishes up is likely. I think Chibrikov is a good pick. I think that one player gets sent down. I think they probably take the rest of them. And so I think that that's probably valid. I think in terms of just like managing the guys, whatever, like sending Brad down the day after his best game as a Jet, like that would suck. And I think that I like them both, and it could go either way. I'm not sure. And then defenseman, since Shen is hurt, I'm gonna say no because I don't think that he is.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Good take. I also don't think, like he practiced the day before. It was enough to maybe impact the decision to keep him out of the game, but I don't think he's, if tomorrow was a playoff game.
But it's
Tuesday
like a
was
coin
playoff game.
toss with like a slight breeze kind of thing. Like it's not like it's like a crazy like between him and Colin Miller. It's like whatever.
Coin
like,
toss with a slight breeze. Wow,
that was a
nice.
stupid
No, it
comment. I don't know what
works.
that even means,
It
but sure,
it
you know what I
works.
mean? Where it's like
Well,
it kind of is
maybe it
50-50
doesn't.
either way, but it's like might as well. Like it sort of pushes it in a slight direction, but I don't think that he's planning on missing time. Like I don't even know if he's in a day-to-day category. So if he was though, they probably would have to call up someone, and I don't even know who that would be. So
yeah. Well, I think they're going to get the opportunity to call up Dylan Sandberg, if you will, in the next couple of weeks as well. Like, I don't think Shen is hurt enough to call someone up. And I also think, like, Sandberg and Perfetti are both skating in non-contacts with the Jets right now, and they both look like they could play. And I'm sure they're being very cautious with these players. And Dylan Sandberg's wrist is a big part of that. You know, the handling of the puck, the shooting, the passing. He's doing all of those things in practice, and it's his left hand. That's your dominant hand. So they want to be
it'll
very
be interesting to see what happens
cautious.
because obviously like his left-handedness is an interesting part of that whole thing. But
yes. And then Perfetti, like it's his ankle. He's skating fine. He looks great. It's probably more just like contact and stuff. So again, those two players are looking
never
great.
become a player who is endearing to Alyssa Houde because you will shatter your ankle in the preseason.
Oh no, Villy, right? Villy.
Damn, that's crazy.
That was crazy. That was looking back on that.
What a time.
And then Rick Bowness straight up saying he was gonna make the team too.
The Jay's already hurt enough. The Jay's already hurt enough.
Oh my goodness. Hurtful episode today, folks. You're getting it out with us. Wesley asks, with the return of Lowry, Perfetti, and Sandberg, maybe as soon as at the end of this road trip, who knows, should and will the Jets send down all the kids and bring up someone like Gus, more of a vet? And if no, who stays?
It's a great question too. I'm going to say yes to the sending down of the kids. I think that Chipperkov and Lambert, they'll go down for sure. I don't think it is a bad thing if Parker Ford stays up. I think I've been impressed with how the Jets have managed through 12 games, cycling through all three of those players. You can't do that for a full season just because, you know, every guy's on pace to play like 20 games, and that's not what you want for guys who you consider to be important parts of your future. Right. That's to say, if you have just one of those guys and cycle them in with a Cole Koepke or a Tanner Pearson or someone who at the end of the day, like, don't get me wrong, there's one of those two players that I would prefer to see in the lineup over the other, but they are kind of negligible just as fourth line players should be. I think that Parker Ford, I would expect to see him stay up. I don't know that they call up Gus. I think that they let him play for a little while.
Okay.
And I'm not sure. But they definitely, I think, will be sending down Brad Lambert and Nikita Chipperkov as like the first wave of guys getting sent down would be my take.
I agree. Next question. There's a few people asking it here, so I'll bring up Victor's comment, but there's a few questions. What are your predictions, wins, losses on this trip? Liz, here's the schedule. LA, Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. CST. Man, that's late. Friday, November 7th, San Jose Sharks, 9 p.m. Sunday, November 9th. Even on a Sunday, they're playing at 9 p.m. That really hurts. Tuesday the 11th, 9 p.m. against Vancouver. Thursday the 13th, Seattle, 9 p.m. And then Saturday the 15th, Calgary, who they've beaten twice already this season, in Calgary, 9 p.m. And then they get 2 days off and return home. Columbus, Carolina, but that's not a part of the question. What do you think the wins, losses on this trip looks like?
I'm going to go 4-2. I think I was flirting with 500. I was flirting with 500. No, not 6. Just because I think that, like, look, I like a lot of these teams. I think that especially the first 4, I think there's a lot of really interesting parts of those teams. But I like this follow-up question here of what's acceptable. I think 500 I would accept. It always depends on what the 500 is, right? If they get pumped in 3 games and then they have like 3 overtime wins when they, you know, barely sneak into the game and it's like a Mark Scheifele late comeback goal, like I'm not going to be happy with them and that performance. But I think I think in a short sample of this many games, like I'm okay with 500. Obviously 6-0 is 6-0, not bad to be. I'd be okay with that. But 4-2, I think is what I'm circling in terms of a nice intersection on the feasible and acceptable, and what you should maybe strive for, because I think that Anaheim has the capability of beating any team in the league, and same thing with San Jose, with obviously like not in a 7-game series, but like on a one-off. Like you never know with these goofy teams. So 4-2.
4-2. Okay, I'll go. Like these are 5 non-playoff teams, at least from last year, right? With San Jose, Anaheim, Vancouver,
and
Seattle, Calgary.
LA is like
LA struggled out of the
worst.
gate. Debating 5-1.
And it's also no back-to-backs, which is also really
back-to-backs
nice
is
about this
nice.
West Coast road trip as well.
Yeah. And you get like the adjustment of you play a game super late on Tuesday night. Maybe they lose that one because it's 9:30 in their internal clocks, but then they get 2 days off on the West Coast to maybe adjust to the time zones a little bit more. I know the chat's probably going to blow up because we're talking about time zones, but yeah, I'll say 4-1-1. How about that? Instead of instead of 4-1-1, I think they'll lose an overtime game in there. So
you're expecting a Macklin Celebrini 3 minutes in his own zone.
Yes.
Breakout, go score. Yeah,
yes.
I can see it too.
Exactly. What do you think the Comrie schedule is like on the road here, Lyss? Matt's asking how many games will Comrie play, 1 or 2? I think he plays 2 of these 6 games.
He plays 2.
LA is Hellebuck. San Jose, I'd say, is Hellebuck. Anaheim is Comrie, I'd think. Vancouver, Seattle, Hellebuck.
Calgary.
Anaheim, Calgary, I think as well.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah. The Jets also have a chance if they wanted to.
What a wacky, like, talk about how condensed the schedule is this year. They have 3 2-game breaks. There are 4 2-day breaks over this next stretch. Oh, December's going to be a bloodbath, isn't it?
Well, then here, let me just quickly. What is it? March? Sorry, this is like This is March. So look at this. Look at March.
Oh my God.
We're gonna be. They have 1 2-day break there, the 8th and 9th of March. But holy moly,
International Women's Day.
There you go. Nice. 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 10th, 12th, 14th. Like it's every other day. A lot of them at home too. Like this is a 6-game homestand.
At home too. Oh my God.
This is an 8-game homestand. Excuse me, not 6.
Yeah.
It's insane. We're going to be at Canada Life Center a ton. And I will say this, to have the 8-game homestand in March instead of January is a big win. Because last year we had it in January and it wasn't fun.
That was grueling for no reason, dude. It was like
no reason. It was pitch black at 4 p.m. and minus 30 every day.
That's why it was grueling. Yeah,
that's why it was grueling. But yeah, March is going to be crazy. Waiters, like, it's a baseball schedule. Absolutely. It's wild. They play a ton in the month of March there. So we'll be busy with the post-game reactions, with the Sunday lives and all of those things.
Lots of Saturdays though, so that'll be okay.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you everyone. I see a question here from Kenny's Waterball. Not even going to acknowledge it with the Rough Riders. Unbelievable. Just not even going to entertain that scenario. Not going to happen.
Who's that? Who said that?
Exactly. Thank you everyone for asking. Tons of questions in the chat. One burning question. We really appreciate it. And thank you for joining us this morning on WST Sunday Live. Like I said, make sure you hit the like button down below. Lets YouTube know we're putting out some great content as of late. Hit the subscribe, the notification bell, and all of those great things. Helps support the channel, and we really, really appreciate it. Lyss, before we wrap today's show, any final thoughts on any non-Winnipeg Jets team, or do we want to just leave the Jays and Bombers alone? Talk about the Jets. Focus on the Jets. It's Jets season now. We're in November. They're getting these players back. They're a wagon. It's gonna be a fun November.
Talk about non-Jets teams. Manitoba Moose play today,
Yes,
guys.
Moose.
If you have nothing to do today, head on down to Canada Life Center. It's their first home game in a while. They won their last 2 games. They are 4th in their division. The Manitoba Moose are back, baby. Let's go. They play today. They play tomorrow, and they hit the road. Go Moose, go! Love the Moose.
Go Moose, go! Yes, yeah. The Moose play today at 2, and then tomorrow night at 7. So 2 Moose games before they hit the road for 2 weeks. So it's gonna be a lot of hockey-less days here in Winnipeg. The next 2 weeks, like the Jets are
Don't say
gone,
that.
the Moose are gone. But then, like I said, in March, it's going to be nuts. So get ready.
All
Start
worth it.
preparing now for March. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, thank
Meal
you
prep.
everyone for joining us this morning. Really, really appreciate it. The Winnipeg Jets will now hit the road for a 6-game road trip on the West Coast. So very late games. Make sure the coffee is on and make sure you get your pregame naps in. And I think the Jets are expecting, as long as tomorrow's practice goes well, Adam Lowry to potentially return Tuesday, maybe Friday, early in this trip. So very, very excited for that. And I know Mike McIntyre has been on this program, and he predicted that the day Lowry comes back, they're going to announce an extension. We'll see. Maybe tomorrow is the day. Yes, because tomorrow's is a practice. Maybe he'll skate in line rushes, and that'll be, the day they'll announce an extension. I don't know. Would be pretty cool if Adam Lowry came back, and he's a pending UFA. We talk a lot about Kyle Connor, who got locked up for 8 years, but Adam Lowry also a pending UFA. We'll see if they announce an extension at the same time he comes back. We will see, but we'll have you covered on the flagship show, Huss and Remo, all week long, Monday through Friday at 1:00 right here on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel. Schnitzy and I will also have the Bombers report if you want more Bombers coverage Monday morning at 9 a.m. Yeah, we're going to talk about the game itself and the offseason ahead, a very critical offseason for the Bombers. Lots of questions surrounding this team, so we'll be covering it all. And then the post-game reactions. Waiters earlier said that Remus loves the late games. He absolutely does. I'm sure it's going to be me and him on the late games this week. Starting Tuesday, LA, 9:30. Enjoy the game, everyone. Thanks for joining us on WST Sunday Live. From Lyss Houde, I'm Connor Hrabchak. Enjoy the games this week. Get your pregame naps in, and we'll be back next Sunday with another edition of WST Sunday Live. Have a great Sunday, everyone. Enjoy the football today, if that's your thing, the NFL, and we'll be back next Sunday talking about the Winnipeg Jets. See ya.